To be honest, last time I heard, they didn't decide if they were keeping it, selling it, what they were doing with it. That was the last time.
For now, it really is still a school issue. It's,
Right.
yeah, the schools are making decisions about that. The current middle school, it was the high school, there's also discussion about that. And again, that still belongs in the purview of the Fairborn School Board. Some people think that the schools and the city are the same entity. They are not. But we still get people who think that. So the city wants people to make sure they understand the Baker Middle School, the current middle school, it was the high school, is still part of the Fairborn School District.
Understand that.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't understand that.
Understand that, but their thing is, the school will sell it.
Eventually.
At 26.2 acres.
Right.
So the concern becomes when the sale eventually occurs, what is going to go in
Yeah,
there?
and that's a great question. When we get closer to that point, then the schools and the city will sit down and look at the zoning. Excuse me. Like we said, the zoning could change. You mentioned it's zoned commercial right now. Depends on what developers might express an interest. Is it gonna be housing, apartments? Could it be retail? We don't know. Pardon?
Gas station.
I don't think we'll put a gas station in here. That's hopefully not. Question?
To follow up with that,
Just a second.
the last, the high school meeting, they talked about the destroying it. They pointed all their directions to you, to this meeting. They told everybody to come to you and talk to you about it, because it's not up to them. It has to go to auction. They're gonna put a high reserve so nothing crappy goes in there. And then it's up to the city to attract people to in. They
Okay, so I'm gonna
everybody
throw this
come in.
back and I'm gonna say, what do you want there? The city wants to hear from our citizens. What do you want in the old Baker School lot? What would you like to see go in?
Well, I don't want any more Fairborn apartments. That's a fact.
That's,
And I'll segue to that. So my understanding is Oprah, a Realtor, now owns Fairborn Apartments. Is that true?
you know, that's another Sharice question.
Yeah, I think it's Sharice.
I think you might be correct, but Sharice is our economic development. She will know exactly.
Because I know it's been bought and sold and bought and sold and bought and sold several
Right,
times,
right.
so.
Trying to find someone who will take care of it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw that back again. What would you, as Fairborn citizens, what would you like to see in the old Baker School area?
From my Facebook group, the Fairborn News and Events, they have said either a senior living home, a place where, because there's not really anywhere cheap in Fairborn for seniors to live. They said a senior home would be a perfect place, or a perfect place for that, or even a youth center of some fashion.
Okay? Julie's making notes here. So we'll
That
get
was
these
the top
in.
two from the.
Okay, so senior, affordable senior housing. Okay, that's a senior, I can agree with that. A small industrial park with what in there? Businesses, manufacturing,
Yeah.
all of the
Few
above?
shops, you know, stuff like that, just stuff that's kind of classy.
Okay.
Kind of classy.
So higher scale
Yeah, where they
businesses.
don't bring in cars and stack them against the
Right, so not a junkyard.
Right, jump there.
Okay, all right. Now remember, this is only 26 acres, so it's not gonna be something too huge. But again, what do you all want in that spot?
Going along with that, I think nice, like a mix, if there could be a mixed use, like some kind of walkability for people to access basic needs, and then housing for either affordable housing for seniors.
So affordable housing? Okay, let me say this, I talked with some of them last week, met with the Leo Club a couple months ago. And the Leo Club and the high school students that I've spoken to, their concern is affordable housing. And the comment is the dream of home ownership that most of us have and had, they don't see that as attainable because housing has gotten so expensive. So, affordable housing, that's what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay? So that's what you'd like to see there. Other people, what would you like to see in the old Baker School lot? Yes, ma'am?
A recreation area for the kids.
Okay.
A covered area, like in our A.
Okay?
I live on Ironwood. I'm tired of watching kids ride their scooters down the middle of the road.
Okay. Did y'all hear that? So arcade activities for kids to do, and that's also a common theme from the young people that I've spoken to. Yes, ma'am?
Going along with what she's saying there, I definitely think something for the youth as well. I lost my train of thought there. It's just, you know, I heard something about like 937 Hoops at one time was going to be built out there where the new high school is. But I go to follow up on it, they were supposed to have like a basketball activity stuff out there, a barber shop. And now I can't find anything on it but a little blurb from some kind of Greene County thing. And
Okay.
it was supposed to be out
And you
there.
said 937 Hoops?
Yeah, 937 Hoops, and it was in, I can't remember if it was the Fairborn Herald or Daily News, even had a little blurb on it. And I go to try to say, hey, what's going on with that? Nothing's there. And so, you know, so we need something maybe like that out there. It's also close, you know, when Fairborn Apartments does get their act together. You know, there's a lot of youth in that area because, you know, they're low income families, so something close in that area would be nice for them.
Yeah, I agree. It needs to be something that benefits and promotes the community of Fairborn. Baker was there for many, many years. My son went to school there.
Used to be able to go over to the track and like walk the track
Sure.
with a bunch of friends and, you know, play on the slides and stuff there at East and.
So what I'm hearing is some activities for young people. And that's what I've heard a lot when I've spoken to the different youth groups. They want things for kids to do. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
There was something, I thought that started on Dayton Yellow Springs, where the city church is now, that they tried to open it up for the youth.
Where the city church is now on Dayton Hill Street?
Pastor Carter was.
Yeah, I know they, at one time they had talked about having like a community
And
center.
it didn't seem like.
It never
worked out.
unfortunately
They were
worked
trying
out.
to get
Yeah.
help from like people at Wright Pat and everything.
Yeah.
So I was just curious.
Haven't heard any more on that. Okay, have we answered your question?
You have, but I think my biggest concern becomes if we don't take care of Fairborn Apartments and either get those up to code, make them livable, whatever we're gonna do, whatever you put in that 26.2 acres
It's not going to.
is not gonna amount to anything.
Yeah, it's gonna be impacted by that.
100%.
Yeah, I get it. Yes.
Have you heard any more about the green nets to keep on since they remember the vouchers they ran out of last August? For the low income senior housing, did you hear any more if they?
Has anybody heard any more about the green net?
Yes, they started actually issuing vouchers just here recently, so yes.
Right, they have like 10, 15 spots open in that building. And when we talk about housing, there's some apartments that are available, but Green Nets hasn't, they ran out of, we talked about at that last meeting, that Green Nets ran out of. And Ellen here was so nice that they had, she set up some meetings here
Yeah.
with some people to try and get it, because I know some. And Joey, I think you've talked before, we know some people that need a place to get into. So I'm really happy that we can get moving along on this.
Yes.
It's a rented.
I'll
How
follow
about
up.
transportation issues? I met with Shannon Webster, who coordinates the Green Cats Blue Line, which goes through Fairborn. And she had some concerns about, do our citizens feel like there's transportation available? Yes.
So I organized for a nonprofit called Fairborn, and we meet with community quite a lot actually. And one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of people just aren't aware of our public transportation. And I've actually talked to Shannon too. I love Shannon. She's sent me so many free resources. She's great. And I distribute those to community, but still kind of get the same kind of questions about how it's run, the cost,
Yeah.
even though it is online. I just think that people might need like an in-person kind of thing or some kind of more promotion about what is available and the routes that are there because it is a pretty well-connected system to the group.
And it is, and it's a huge benefit that a lot of people don't know about. I met with Shannon about, it's been about 3 weeks now, and we rode the Blue Line together, the whole route. And we had a lady get on the line who had already been on it when we got on it, who lived in Dayton and works at a Fairborn pizza shop. And she said it takes her 3 hours from her house, making multiple transfers to eventually get to Fairborn, riding the Blue Line, and then getting to her job where she works at a pizza parlor. And then it takes her 3 hours to go home. She spends 6 hours a day riding different forms of public transportation. That to me seems a little over the edge. Yeah, and she works an 8-hour job or whatever. My point is, number one, we have a good system, the Blue Line for Green Cats. If you know people that are looking for transportation opportunities, that's there. Some of the churches also provide some shuttle service. The senior center.
Yeah, we have transportation, for people that are between 50 to 60. You do need to be a member for that. Anyone over 60 and over, living in the city of Fairborn, can get transportation through us to go to doctors and wherever they need to go. We do go out of county, so we do go Montgomery, Clark County.
And if you're a military veteran, there are different veteran groups that will also help you to get to appointments out at the Dayton VA and to other places. There are transportation programs. It's not perfect. It's not the best, but it's better than nothing. And for a lot of people, it is their only means of getting around. So Shannon is a great person to work with. There's blue line folders out here, right here in the lobby. So if you want to see where they go, and they make multiple stops in the city of Fairborn, including here. Okay.
I may have brought it before, another one. You know how we used to do the streetcar, that paper, that type of, I used to have one inside my window, but I think it's been outdated. Are we gonna do that again? Are we gonna update it?
It was updated, what, about a year ago?
What do we have? Is it?
Yeah, the street card, if you're not familiar with that, a group of citizens put that together like half a dozen years ago, and it's about all different services that are available to Fairborn citizens. Whether it's food, Fairborn Fish, the different churches and services some of them provide. It talks about transportation issues, mentions the senior center, but it's a whole listing of different services that are available in the Fairborn community. And it's right out here. Yeah.
Do you think you should get a copy of it, put it on the city page, put that information on the city page?
Yeah. We have a communication manager who's doing great things. So yes, we can make that happen. Okay, yes, sir.
I want to follow up on this about the school. And there's 22, 26.
26.2. Yeah, yeah.
I've lived here for a while, I'm sorry. It's 75 years.
So people can.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've lived in Fairborn. My wife and our first apartment was in Fairborn, apartments. And I'm agreeing with you that we need, but I think the apartments themselves, that whole complex needs to be, exactly, which,
Raised.
raised. And I'm curious to hear the fact that the mayor of the town and our information director, manager, weren't able to come up with who owns those buildings. And I heard you say that they have changed hands a number of times. So my question is, what does the city, what can they do to wake those people up, or get rid of it, or what? I mean,
They have. The question is, what can we do about the Fairborn apartments? Sharice is the economic developer for the city of Fairborn, and she has been working, her and Mike Gebhardt and others at the city staff. The Fairborn apartments, to be careful what I say, it's been a problem, and we know that. And it's, like we said, it's gone through multiple changes of hands. I think Ober is the current owner, but I don't want to say that. Sharice is the expert. She's the one that works on that particular issue. We know it's a problem. And we will double down on that one. Make sure that Sharice hears that this was a big issue tonight.
What is the problem? That's what I want to know.
It's been, I'll put in my 2 cents worth. People living there that were dealing drugs. People not taking care of the apartments, the apartments falling into disrepair, and then when someone moves out, someone has to go in and fix it all up. I know at one point we talked about the brick facade on one of the buildings was literally falling off. They had to prop it back up and reattach it to the building. It's not turned out to be a place that we want to brag about. We'll put it that way.
Sounds like the problem is our slumlords that are,
Yes.
yeah.
That's been the problem in the past. I do know, and again, I don't want to say over, because I could be wrong. The current owners met with the city and worked with Sharice, Mike Gebhardt, and others to talk about how they wanted to fix it up and make it better. And I think that's in progress.
They're listed on Over's website for rent, so I'm assuming Over probably owns them.
But that's my
what I'm
understanding.
like, yeah. Because they have different floor plans, prices, pictures on Over's like homepage.
And I'm not begrudging not to have that housing, I think that housing needs to be available for the residents that need it. But my gosh, they need to live in habitable, thank you, homes, apartments, whatever you wanna call it, just like anybody else does.
I don't think anybody's going to argue that.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is you get people that live in those and don't take care of them.
Yeah, and 100%.
And that's a big problem.
And I worked in Baker,
But that's not
I
an
know
issue
how many
of
times the police
tenants,
were
that's
called,
an
their
issue
fire
of
department
Wait,
is.
a second, let's hear what this lady's.
I worked at Baker for years, and I know how many times the police were called over there, and the fire departments are called over there, and I know that, God love our students that came from there and still come from there. I mean, it's just, that's the nature of the beast, I guess.
Well, and that property would be doubled in value if that were.
100%.
Or repaired. I mean.
And so would our houses
it's
in Minden Park.
economics at that point, you know, so whatever you want to put in there.
Okay. Comment?
So, yeah, again, like the issue of like people not taking care of it, that's not an issue of tenants, that's an issue of slumlords. When people are not held accountable to provide safe, healthy, adequate housing, because low-income housing is a necessity. We have a housing issue in this country.
Yeah,
Every
everywhere.
town needs housing, but landlords need to be held accountable to provide updates, provide safety, provide all those things. And statistics through and through show that when things are clean, maintained, healthy, we see an enormous decrease in the need for survival tactics like drug use, drug selling, a decrease in other activities that we may not love because their basic needs are being met. So it's a city issue to hold the slumlords, and I'll keep calling them that, accountable for their inappropriate behavior, and not only to those tenants who deserve so much more, but our greater community
Sure.
who deserve better as well.
Yes. Yes.
How many individuals does the city have on staff that actually does, building,
Code enforcement?
enforcement, code
Okay,
enforcement?
there's a whole code enforcement office.
Because last time I looked, there was one.
There's three.
There, yeah, but,
There's two guys that are like the boots on the ground guys, they basically split the
Right,
city in half. And then they have one guy above them that does like the police call outs, late at night, fire call
but
outs.
two people for
So
the
three.
size of our town, that's not good. And we need, I mean, in my personal belief, is we need, that's what we need. Because right now, what I was told is if you see something, you have to report it to them, then they'll go out and look at it. But they don't have the time to actually go out on their own and look for things.
Well,
Because
okay, that's a good point. We do.
They have to
People
go,
submit a lot.
they have to go through the request part,
Yeah.
which to me, that just takes too much time. And you get people that aren't taking care of their properties.
They're not proactive.
They're not proactive, yes. They are proactive, we just don't have enough of them.
Yeah.
Sir.
Who was the team responsible with going around checking all the sidewalks on Broad Street and writing all those citations up?
The
On
team
Broad
for-
Street?
Yeah, because there's tickets that went out for Broad Street sidewalks and curbs.
No, that was Ironwood.
Not recently, the last couple weeks ago, it was.
Are you talking about the sidewalk program?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
last year we replaced the sidewalks on Ironwood.
Well, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the invoice to property owners on Broad Street that just went out not too long ago. You guys just had the meeting about, actually, last forum was about that as well.
Oh, that was the Broad Street.
Yeah,
which
that's-
is like
yeah.
the like phase 3, I think.
Yeah, who goes out and does those inspections?
That's the
Is it those
engineering
two,
department.
those
No,
different
completely
department?
different department.
Okay.
Engineering department.
Okay.
And the city, the issue with roads, people always complain about how come that road got fixed and this one doesn't. The city contracts with a company that has a van that has a sensor on the front, and it drives all the city streets over a 1 or 2 year period. And what they look at is it measures the width and the depth of cracks, and it comes up with a formula. And
Your mic cut out.
mic cut out? Okay. And it comes up with a formula, and based on that formula, the city decides which cities will get resurfaced, milled, whatever. But it's not just some random person driving around. It's actually a company that goes around and it surveys the roads to measure cracks, the depth of cracks, the width of cracks. So it's a scientific method to make sure that we address those streets first before we just, we don't do my street first, we'll put it that way, okay? People have accused me of getting our street done. We're part of the whole system.
Mayor, how about the railroad tracks at Xenia Drive?
What about it?
They're terrible.
The railroad tracks at Xenia?
Not the tracks are like.
Yeah, they done the hill.
It's an ongoing.
Okay, well, that's I think the railroad's Norfolk Southern?
Is that
Yeah.
B&O Railroad or whoever?
Norfolk Southern.
Norfolk Southern.
So,
you-
other people have problems with those?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, well, let's put
It's
that
their
on the list.
property,
It's their property.
but I don't know if it's their responsibility to
We
maintain it, 'cause it's their
expect
property.
them to tell them, come out and repair it.
It's gonna be on the list.
We make it a written
Yeah,
request.
it's on the list. Sir?
I mean, beat a dead horse, back to the Fairborn Apartments. I remember reading like a year ago, there was some issue about it. The village could need to store, and there was an issue there. Is that true or not?
The issue what?
Historic Fairborn Apartments, is their age, or supposedly there was historic question about? I never had, I never heard.
I've never heard anything about the Fairborn Apartments being part of the,
47.
They're built in
1947, 48. when they were built.
so they're not, they don't qualify for,
I never heard, only heard one.
yeah.
That was the truth there.
Not that old.
Okay, another question over here.
Yeah, my question is a shift from what we have been, and it's very selfish. Has there been talks in the city or in groups or organizations for the city about repairing or expanding the pickleball courts down at the park?
All
He
right.
loves this one.
This is one of my pet issues. I'm an old tennis player, played high school and college tennis. I would love to see some nice new pickleball courts, okay? And the pickleball courts that over by the softball fields by the flat line are terrible, okay?
If you play in the evening and you're on one side, the sun's right
Yeah.
in your face.
We would love to get some new pickleball courts. We've talked about, where the old high school, now middle school, repainting those tennis courts. If you go to Beaver Creek, they have a place where you can play tennis or pickleball on the same courts. That's what I would like to see. But yes, I am a fan of pickleball, okay?
But I think it came down to a price, because I think we
And
quoted
like
it
everything,
I think we quoted it like last year, 2024, and the price just wasn't right. So, but they know it's on the list, because.
It would just be really fun, but
Yeah.
is it selfish, like,
well,
a priority?
I'm with you on that one. I like pickleball, I've played it several times. I have friends that play pickleball daily, who live in Fairborn and go to Beaver Creek to play.
And then I had a second question really quick. The light, when you are getting off the exit, I don't know what it's called. The exit where you
235.
can turn to go to Yellow Springs.
Is it
What-
right by
Danielle
right by the high
Danielle
school?
Springs,
Danielle
yeah,
Springs?
I think so, yes, there's the light there, and I don't know who I would talk to.
Which intersection?
ODOT, probably. Is it the light right off the highway?
Yeah, like get on
ODOT
and
controls
off.
those lights.
And it's like a single left turn and then or you can turn right. And there's been several times we've almost gotten into an accident where it's so backed up to turn left into Fairborn as we're getting off, and I don't know.
ODOT controls the light, but I think
Okay.
depending on where you are,
According
the
to
road.
Manuel, he told me that they handle the lights down at.
Manuel's the city
you're talking
engineer.
about Dayton Yellow Springs,
Yeah,
right?
Dayton
Or are you
Yellow
talking about
Springs,
235?
all the way down.
Is 235 what goes out? We're newer here, so we're like, not that new, but
I think
close
it's
enough.
not 675 across from the high school. High school.
So when you pass like Sheets and Casey's and you
That's
go.
all.
Oh, yeah,
that's
so
all
that's an
good.
ODOT light.
That's an ODOT
And that
light.
flashing
ODOT light,
yellow,
yeah,
Not the flashing yellow, the one when you get off.
right off the exit, yeah, that's that ODOT
Yeah.
light, because I actually had a complaint about
Yeah,
that light.
that is
It took a really long time to turn one day, and I complained to our traffic enforcement guy, and he was like, it's an ODOT light, I can't control the timing.
You
But
have to, you
it's
have
on
to
a
be
sensor.
right up at that
It's on
line,
a
you have to
sensor.
be
You have
right
be
up
on the
there.
line to get
If
it
the
to
car
the-
that's gonna turn left isn't right there, you're
No.
gonna sit
you
there
have
forever.
to trigger the road sensor.
Yep.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
the issue
You
with
gotta be
almost
on
all
it.
lights nowadays, they're triggered by a road
Right.
sensor, and if you don't pull up far enough,
Yeah.
you will sit there.
I would love to just see like 2 left turning lanes.
Well, because that backs, it does back up.
Back up.
If someone's not like on the line and it sits red, then people will just,
And we've
yeah.
almost gotten to an accident a couple
Yeah.
times. I thought,
Yes.
oh, if there were 2 left turning lanes, that
Yeah.
would
Right.
maybe help mitigate.
These are great issues, and Julie's writing them all down.
But no, I
these
have
will
the
get
same
back to
problem,
the
and I'm like,
city.
this light's never late for work.
So, yeah, sorry to bring it up here.
Okay.
Appropriate.
All right, it's now 7:25, we're 25 minutes over, but none of us are complaining, so we'll keep going. Other issues, yes ma'am?
I just wanted to confirm what that gentleman said about the Fairborn Apartments. We were told many years ago that they were destroyed by the city. This
Really?
is way back when the
What was
South
this? Can barely hear you.
They said that the,
He's saying that Fairborn Apartments were told that they were historic buildings.
this has been 20 years ago.
All right, we will look into
But I'm
that.
just saying.
Okay, Julie, you got
I'm
that?
really surprised by the
We're not
fact,
crazy.
Fairborn Apartments historic, you know, it's like, what, they're over 50 years old or something like that?
Yeah.
Half historic.
If Fairborn Apartments are National Historic Site, so is Lovington Arms over off Wright Avenue. They were both built at the same time. Buildings are exactly alike.
We'll ask the question, yes ma'am?
Speaking about transportation, I was wondering why the sidewalks on Fun River are kind of just off and on, they're kind of left unfinished.
Sidewalks on Thunder.
That's on chip, probably.
No, on Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, that's Fairborn.
Like when you get into right view, it kind of like stops, like sidewalks
Oh,
stop
they-
as you go down that way.
It's by the old Tuckers.
Yeah,
Right
they stop
after
right
the
with
apartments,
and
it
then
stops for a little
kind
bit, then it goes, picks up
Yeah.
again right across from the other set of
Okay,
apartments.
Yeah.
we'll put that on the list.
And
But they've been like that for years.
It's hard
like,
for people to
that's
walk.
right there.
I know that city
In the
council
snow
was talking
and
about.
Just, folks, we got the lady over here talking.
I was wondering, like, so the city council was talking about a new house is being built, Orville Street, like a street over. And in the agenda, I read that they talked about the sidewalks just for like a little bit. And, a department or something that they were deemed kind of unnecessary at that time. But I've seen just people in the middle of the night just riding their bikes on the road and they're wearing black and I can't really.
Hard to see.
them. So it's
Okay,
kinda
so the
interesting.
sidewalks over by Orville, in that area, Thunderbird,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
look at those, okay.
Yeah, they just don't exist.
A lot of people
They've
have
never
never
Okay.
convenience.
Well, then we need to look at that.
It's
Okay.
right there.
Just remember, in Fairborn, like many communities in the Dayton area, the homeowner owns the sidewalk as far as making repairs and stuff. So it could be that some people don't want sidewalks. So that's entirely possible.
Where she's talking about is right in front of the apartment complex. On that corner, they have a, like a roundabout type thing, and there are no apartments. That's why I think why there's no sidewalks there.
Okay.
'Cause where she's
well,
talking- it's
we'll
just a
look
weird
into
little section in front of like, I don't know, like a block long. It's kind of odd.
it. Okay, well, we'll get with, Manuel's our city engineer, we'll ask the question. Yes, ma'am.
Has the city thought about a way to overcome all the littering that is done on the roads? Like,
All right, littering, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that is one of my pet issues. I absolutely hate it when people litter. And it happens everywhere, and it's particularly bad right now. I'm a member of 4 different groups that picks up trash. Okay? The Adopt a Highway programs. We would love to get more streets identified for Adopt a Highway. And again, we're looking, if you live in an area, like I live in Meadowlands and Sanctuary, does Garland from Trayvine down to Marchmont. And if you look at that right now, it looks like someone dumped a dump truck out there. We pick it up twice a year, and the day after we do it, there's already trash out there. Okay? The Lions Club does in front of Menards in the Kroger area. And
We're partnering with, I think the Green County Parks Foundation to do, it's like Community Litter Pickup Day in April, and I'm posting something about it on social media tomorrow, because I just got the information today. So we're hosting like a Community Litter Pickup Day in April.
So when you say
like
social
April 26th.
media, are you talking about Facebook?
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook.
Would you also
City
put quite
website.
a bit on the, City of Fairborn website too, things like this?
I can put it there, and then we also have a digital newsletter that you can sign up for.
I actually did that recently.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was gonna include it on
Yeah,
that.
littering is a real issue in Fairborn, and why people choose to throw things out their car windows is beyond me.
Some of it has been this bad rain we had like last month, so, but you're right.
Yeah, but that still doesn't
That's-
excuse people throwing things out their car windows.
Yeah.
I've got a question you mentioned, Garland and Marshall. Is there any plan on building a sidewalk?
So
Have I brought this up?
we're currently doing an active transportation plan for biking sidewalks connecting to different bike paths. And we've gotten a lot of like feedback that people, especially with the new school being right there, so.
Yes,
I think
that's
it's part of
another
our
one of
active
my big
transportation
issues.
plan, yes.
I've already talked to the engineer, city manager about that. And what we're talking about is with the new high school, our Commerce Center, when the kids leave and go down to Garland and turn left, and they go down past Meadowlands and Sanctuary, the sidewalk ends at the ends of those developments. And from that road, Garland makes a turn, and some people choose to drive that like it's a racetrack. The high school track team and cross-country teams run that. And when the snow was here a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, the few kids that walked that were having to walk in the street because they couldn't access the side. Absolutely, we need a sidewalk there. And we have been talking about that. The new middle school will open in about 3 years. Most high school students don't walk or ride bikes. They catch a ride with someone, they drive themselves, they ride the bus, whatever. A lot of middle school kids, to my knowledge, none of them drive cars. Okay? So they're gonna be the walkers and the bike riders when that new middle school opens. We've gotta have a sidewalk in there by then. It's on the list.
We would love a sidewalk.
Yes.
Heading out there to give blood, I noticed there's a huge bunch of cross-country runners too. They run down there and then they're in the grass.
Yeah.
But
Because
you
there's no
can't
sidewalk.
turn down the other way you get.
Yeah. And they come down Meadowlands
Mhm.
and they turn into that walkway that's an entry into the community
Right.
park, and then they run to the park.
Right,
So they come down Meadowlands all the time.
right.
And I actually stopped several of them a couple weeks ago and asked them about that piece of Garland, and they said it's a real problem.
Yes,
That
it
they
is.
sometimes have to jump out of the way of cars coming whipping around that corner.
Right.
So, yeah, we've got to get a sidewalk. Yes, other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Concerning the trash, I see a lot of that coming out of the Rumpke trucks.
Really?
Absolutely. Every day after trash day, the streets are.
Yeah, I'll second that. I've seen that several times.
Okay.
They don't secure the road.
We need to have a discussion with Rumpke.
And when we have, these two, when we have one day pickup, you could go down your streets and pick up all the trash and be good for a week. And I'll go there to the neighborhood, people across the street, trash.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you all to do a favor. If you see trash coming out of a Rumpke truck, call. They get enough complaints from citizens, maybe they'll be a little more careful about making sure that the back of the truck is closed and trash isn't blowing out. Anybody who knows me knows that litter is one of my pet peeves. It really bothers me, like I say. And if you're not part of an Adopt a Highway group, there's one looking for help. Okay, I belong to 4 different ones, and we clean up trash, and it's very discouraging the day after to see trash back on the same street that was cleaned up.
You would like to call it to go to Rumpke or to the city?
Go to Rumpke. Complain to Rumpke. I mean, the city will complain too, but if enough citizens complain to Rumpke because you saw, and if you can identify the truck number or license plate or whatever.
Take pictures.
Well, taking a picture if you can, but it's hard to get a picture of trash flying out of the truck. But if you see it happening, let's complain to them. Okay, other questions? We're now way over, which is fine. Any other issues?
If we help pick up trash, do you want to buy us dinner?
Will I buy you dinner? Probably not. Well, let's all be part of the solution. You know, I grew up in a generation that said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And let's be part of the solution to things like trash pickup. And watching out for our neighbors. The high schools did an event 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, where they had a guy come in and talk about kindness and how kindness matters to young people. Was anybody else here at that event? Auditorium at the high school was packed.
That would have been opening, or I mean, our PD day.
Yeah, but it was excellent. So let's do a better job in 2025. It's our 75th anniversary of helping to take care of each other. You see a neighbor in need, let's help each other.
Yeah, I was curious, a couple of those major things that was discussed in the previous session like this about the truck stop, and then also.
The truck stop, Charlie left.
Yeah, he left, he left.
Yeah, Charlie Deere's been very concerned about the potential of a Wawa truck stop down by 675 Broad Street. Right now, we're still waiting to hear back from Wawa. Last time that I'm aware of it, their comment was they were looking at redoing their proposal to increase the landscape. But that's the last I've heard. I don't know if the city.
I think they resubmitted a planning board, but I'm not sure if the planning board has actually had a meeting about it. But I'm pretty sure they resubmitted.
And do they post information about that anywhere, things like that?
It's on the city's page, and I think, actually, didn't you share a link on your?
Yeah, I was about to comment.
You had like a cloud link with a more design feature.
They had an actual layout. They didn't get any more land. No more land was, they didn't purchase any more land. They just redid the entrances to be safer, which I think look a lot safer too.
And it's on the city's page under planning.
Did I answer your question? Okay, you got another question? Oh, the marijuana question. Okay, the reason the city is reluctant to make a final decision is because the state keeps saying they're gonna change the rules. And I'm in contact with some of our state legislators, and they're all saying, we recommend you not make a decision until the state finalizes the budget in June. And it's based on that budget, and we can make, quote, smart decisions. The vote in Fairborn was roughly 60% in favor of a marijuana, recreational marijuana, 40%, 59 point something to 41 point something. Basically, 60 to 40 in favor. Okay. We have brought this up multiple times at meetings to talk about it, and we really do want to see what the state is going to come up with. The state has talked about changing the amount of THC concentrate in allowable marijuana. The state has talked about what little bit was going to come back to municipalities. Now the state is talking about phasing it out so that the state keeps all the tax revenue coming. We don't know if that's going to happen. So the bottom line is, we want to do it smart in Fairborn. We want to wait and see what the state's going to do, because we don't want to get a facility in that's running based on these guidelines, and then the state comes back and says, well, we're changing the guidelines, and the company that's agreed to come in says, well, we're not going to do that. Putting in a marijuana dispensary is not cheap. You've got to have all kinds of safety and security issues. So we want to make sure that whatever company decides to build a facility in town, it's done understanding that they're strictly following the state guidelines. Do you have a question?
Yes. After our last forum, I went and looked at their new proposal. It's actually worse, a lot worse for the patients. Were we ever going to look and talk about what the patients need? Because every time the city talks about it, it's about what the city gets. The state gets all the money. How about we just decriminalize it?
Well, that's a question to raise. Talk to your state legislators.
Well, in Fairborn, why can't we?
Well, because we can't do that. It's a federal issue. It's a state issue. I talked to base leadership. Because many states are going around changing the rules, decriminalizing, allowing marijuana dispensaries. And the base leadership is, as long as it's a federal issue, they will not change it. Which means that any military people and anybody who works on base potentially could be screened, but military in particular, we used to call it the golden flow, where you, at any time you get a letter and it says you report to the base lab to submit a urine specimen, and if you test positive, you're out. And that's been the military's position for many, many years.
So I just want to verify that you're saying Fairborn's residents can't progress with this because of the base.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
That's what you
I'm
just
saying.
said.
That's not what I said. What I'm saying is that the use of marijuana has been a federal issue, then it was voted on at the state issue. You can go over to Beaver Creek, go to their dispensary.
I have. Has anybody in here?
Okay, I'm just saying, anybody here, it's allowed in the state of Ohio. The issue for Fairborn is strictly right now whether or not we're gonna have a marijuana dispensary. And based on the vote, that's the direction we're leaning, but we wanna see what the state guidelines for that are gonna be. Yes, ma'am?
Kind of follow up for that. So
Yeah.
you said June, when the state budget happens,
Right.
you said that you would possibly have a decision, like a final decision by then. Is that what I'm hearing?
What we did is we pushed off our decision to September, which gives us the ability to make a decision before then, if the state guidelines come out, and we can work with them on that. It gives us a deadline, a hard, fast deadline of September. We can make a decision before that.
Okay.
And again, we're waiting to see what the state's going to do. And this is on the advice of people at the state level saying, wait and see what the state's going to do. Yes.
So you say you're waiting on the state. You're waiting for the state to say how much the city gets tax revenue from.
That's a piece of it.
What's the other pieces of it then? 'Cause
Well,
there is no
pieces
other
are the-
pieces.
Okay, Joey.
No, because you did this last time. You kept cutting me off. You
No,
never
no,
addressed.
I didn't cut you off.
You never addressed the
I got
actual.
people very frustrated because we allowed, well, let's not get into that. The bottom line is the state has a number of different issues that they're looking at. The amount of money that will go to municipalities, the concentrate of THC in the marijuana. Sir?
I just think it might be simpler. The only thing the city has control of is to whether to have one or not.
Correct.
They can't control how it's ran, what it does.
Correct.
The state sets that up. So you're waiting to see what the state's doing.
Right.
And then make a decision, because that's the only thing the
That's-
city
you're
has
correct.
control of, is do we want.
Whether or not we want a
how it
dispensary in
works,
Fairborn.
or if it's good for the patient or bad for the patient, do we want this or not,
Right.
after we know the facts?
Basically, you're right. That's what we're waiting for. Anybody in Fairborn can go to Riverside, there's 2 dispensaries. You can go to Beaver Creek, there's 1 dispensary. Springfield has several dispensaries, one right along 670, or on I-70. We're not stopping anybody from purchasing marijuana someplace else. All we're saying is, just like this gentleman said, we're waiting to see what the final guidelines from the state are, so we can make a decision about if and how we want the dispensary to do.
What other than the city's tax revenue from it are you waiting on?
To
Because
see
it's
what
not
the-
the health issues. It's definitely not the health concerns. So please elaborate on
Okay.
what issues.
We're waiting to see what all of the state guidelines are going to be. And I don't have that list right in front of me, but there were a number of different things that the state is doing. I'll tell you what, I have that newspaper article.
You had it last time when you went against what the city said as well, sir. The state voted 60-40, the residents voted 60-40, but you and the council voted unanimously against it. That's not following the citizens. That's not following the state either. The state's changing it to make it worse for the patients.
Because there's a moratorium?
Pardon me, I can't hear you.
What do you mean that council voted against it because we set a moratorium?
Yes, preventing permit or issuance of somebody creating a dispensary in town.
Correct.
Not necessarily banning the dispensary.
Here's the article, February 24th, at the Dayton Daily News published,
Senate bill.
about the bill would overhaul Ohio's cannabis laws.
Did you look it up? I looked it up that night, what the changes are. It is a 10 to 15% increase on taxes. It's taking the maximum plants you can have.
Will you let me finish?
Sweet Jesus.
Okay, you,
Well, I will quit talking, sir. You have all the time.
I'm trying to explain what was in the newspaper.
That is irrelevant.
All right. Okay, any other questions?
I'd just like to mention a program that we've got going on here at the center. It's called Christmas in Action. It is a rehab, volunteer program where we go out and rehab low-income seniors and disabled individuals' home. They must be a homeowner with 200% federal poverty guidelines for the income. We're taking applications now, and we will have those available till June 3rd. Our day of action is August 8th and 9th, rain date of August 22 and 23. If you know someone, please have them get a hold of me here at the center. I'm Ellen, and our Christmas in Action team. This will be, we've done 82 houses since 2010. It is free to the homeowners. It's just they have to have their taxes paid and insurance. But please, if you know someone that's in need of minor repairs, painting, landscaping, anything like that, please have them contact me here. I'll hand out the applications. We're looking to do at least, hopefully 10 houses this year.
And that, we talk about helping each other in the Fairborn community. This is a great way to help our seniors and those folks who might be disabled who are lower income. It's been a great program, like Ellen said. The big thing right now is we're trying to find homeowners who meet the criteria, and we can talk to Ellen about what the criteria is. We would like to get free repairs. It doesn't cost the homeowner anything. And we do this all in one day. We get volunteers, we all meet right here in this room, and then we go out and make these home repairs. So if you know someone who meets the criteria, please put them in touch with Ellen here at the senior center so we can go out and make repairs. And if any of you would like to be a part of that effort as a volunteer, we have volunteers that help make the home repairs. We have volunteers that help pack lunches. Because one of the things we learned a long time ago, don't release people to go to lunch because they won't come back. So we pack lunches here, and we have a team of people who take the lunches to them. So they work on their home that they're working on. They stop for lunch and then they continue working. So we have all kinds of volunteers. If you're a healthcare person, we're always looking for someone to be an on-call nurse, paramedic, whatever. We've never, knock on wood, had any kind of major injuries, bumps and bruises, Band-Aid kind of things, but we're looking for people to help with that too. Great Fairborn program. Yes?
Okay, so in May, so I don't know if that was last time, so in May, we're starting back up with our, something we tried several years ago, it's called Second Saturdays. So May through October, the second Saturdays, we're gonna be doing things at the Fifth Third Main Street Commons, which I know that you come together, name, I was up there for the parking lot. So we're trying to do downtown events that doesn't block up any streets. And so we're trying to, and again, this is volunteers, if anybody wants to help out. So every second Saturday from May to October, we're gonna try and have some little kind of activities. I think they're like from 11 to 3. Hopefully we have great weather. And none of them have to do with any of the activities downtown, so we're not interfering with anybody else. But if you would like to be a volunteer, if you have to know anybody who's a vendor, we're looking for vendors, can contact Janine at the chamber office because she has applications. So just want to throw that out before this.
I want to say one last thing about this marijuana thing. This article goes into depth about what the proposed state changes are. And I talked a lot, like I said, our legislators, since this article was published, indicated there are additional things being looked at. So anybody who would like to see this, it'll be set.
What's the date of that?
This was February 24th, so it's roughly a month ago. And this is what, like I said, front page of the Dayton Daily News. And our state legislators have informed me there are additional things that are being looked at the state level beyond this. And this has a whole series of things that are being looked at, and I highlighted them in yellow. So it's not just a real simple, let's have a dispensary. There are issues that the state is looking at. Okay, anything else? Yes?
Remind people that Jessica at the library is doing interviews on Fairborn citizens, anybody that.
Historical interviews.
Historical, that knows anything about it, has something to offer. We've got a number of people already that are there, and she's all set up. If you know somebody or want to talk and tell something about your past or about Fairborn's past, call Jessica at the library, and she'll set up an appointment with you.
Okay. Anything else? I want to thank our officer for being here this evening. Fairborn's finest. Okay, thank you all for being here.